Okay, here we go. 2020 started with what I thought was my normal asthma issues. Couldn't breathe. I went to the doctor, got the usual prednisone, Z-Pak, other meds, but this time they didn't work. So my doctor sent me to a specialist, a pulmonologist over in Sioux Falls. More breathing tests, some more meds, very expensive inhalers and other things, and they didn't work either. So by the summertime, I was getting maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep at night. Normally I slept with a C-Pack, but I couldn't use it anymore because I couldn't breathe with it. So I was kind of mad about the short sleeping time I was getting. And so eventually I decided to use that awake time as opportunity to pray time. So if I'm getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep, I'm getting, 4 or 5 hours opportunity to pray. Sometimes I'd fall asleep during pray time though. Anyway, in Genesis where Jacob wrestles with God at Bethel, you know who's going to win, but doesn't mean, you don't think you can still, because you're tough, right? But God's going to win. So end of August, the pulmonary department decided to send me to the cardiology department. And I had the heart echo ultrasound done, and then on my birthday, I got to go meet Dr. P, the cardiologist. And he told me I needed a aortic valve replacement because the one that was in there was pretty much shot. So more tests. That was going good, and then I had a major allergic reaction to the TEE test, the one they put the camera down to look at the other side. And I ended up in the hospital for 3 days there. 4 days later, I had COVID. Wonder where I got that. Anyway, got through that. Got back in the line for testing, and then they had more tests because they wanted to know what I was allergic to and what caused the reaction. And then they did CAT scans, and then there was insurance denials. So it just kept getting pushed back a few weeks here, a few weeks there. And by early November, I was getting some extreme water weight gains and causing some other issues. So my primary doctor put me back over in the hospital on November 17th. 36 hours later, I crashed. I went from just being a patient to ICU. My blood my beats had gone down to 20, and they got it to come back better. Ended up being tubed. That happened on the 19th. 3 days later, I came to and found out you can't talk with a tube down your throat. Can't do a lot of things. But let's see. After waking up, they told me they had put a temporary pacemaker in, but it had failed. So they had in my leg, and then they put a temporary pacemaker in my neck. 2 days later, that failed. So November 23rd, they put the permanent pacemaker in, but I was still too weak for surgery. And December 1st, they put the new valve in. That went well. They went to take the lines out of the arteries, and one of the arteries got ripped. And I ended up having 3 units of blood transfusion, And through all the work they did to stop the bleeding, there was a lot of swelling and ended up being a lot of pain with that one. All in all, I spent 21 days in ICU and then 14 days in swing bed over in Windham. And I got to come home December 21st, just before Christmas. I was really excited about that, but then I got home and found out maybe I wasn't quite as ready to leave swing bed as what I thought I was. Well, everything in my house is a lot lower, shorter than what it was at the hospital, and so there was a more adjusting to do to get up to that. So really, after wrestling with God through this whole thing and getting body slammed and pinned and figuring out, you know, it's a lot easier to listen than to fight God. I look back at all the times that I thought were problems and I see where God was there blessing me every time. Whenever I ran into an issue, there was people in place already, ready to fix it. Every time. There wasn't one single time that he let me down there. And all I had to do was tell people, you know what? God blessed me again. And probably wouldn't believe this, but I told more people over there about how God had blessed me probably than any time in my life. So, yeah. So 2020 was hard, but there was filled with blessings.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Ah.